So this gang, the BTK, originally they're called the Canal Boys.
Yes.
And it was a Vietnamese gang.
A Vietnamese gang.
Okay, and they actually splintered off from other Chinese gangs, the Fukienese, the Flying Dragons, and the Ghost Shadows.
Yeah, they branched off from the Ghost Shadows and the Flying Dragons, and they formed their own gang. And originally, it was called the Canal Boys, and eventually they took on the name BTK, and they made a lot of noise in Chinatown. And one day, I went to during those times, the gangs, they like to hang out at either like the diners, the roller skating rink, the bowling alleys, the pool halls, right? So we try to find like a place. Remember, we were new, so our crew tried to find a place where we can, get established, where we can hang out. So Cambone Peter sent me and this other kid to this roller skating rink in the Bronx to check it out, see if there were any other gangs there, who hung out in that area inside that establishment. So so I went with this kid and this new recruit, and this new recruit was like talking. He's one of those who's a talker. He likes to like present himself as how tough he is. Like he's gonna be in the front lines for everything. Like he's ready to shoot and this and that. A talker. So we figured, okay, you're a tough guy. You're ready to shoot anytime. You carry the gun, and I'm the driver. So me and him, we drove up there, and he had the gun on him. And what happened was, I parked my car right in front of the on the side street of the roller skating rink, and we got out of our car. And as we're walking, there was like maybe like 5 or 6 BTK members walking towards us. I mean, one look, you already know the BTK members. Like, we know because we know how like to identify certain gang members. So they're walking towards us, and we're walking towards them. And I figured, okay, he has a gun, right? He's a tough guy. He's gonna shoot. No big deal. So we just continue walking, and now we're closing the distance, right? And I'm thinking, how come he didn't pull out the gun yet or whatever? It's like, by the time we closed the distance, we were surrounded. And the BTK member searched the guy first. Before they even like came up to me, they searched the guy. And they pat him down. They took his gun. So this tough-talking guy got his gun taken away from him. They took the gun and they pointed at him, and he ran down the block. He ran like maybe, I would say maybe a distance of like 20 feet. He fell down because he was so scared. He probably had rubber legs. He fell down. He got up and ran for another like 20 feet. He fell down again. It was comical. He got up and he ran down the block and turned the corner and left me there alone. Now the guy directs the gun right at me, pointed right directly at my chest. Right? Inches away from my chest. I pick up my hands and I remain calm. They didn't even pat me down. I guess it's, my demeanor, I remain calm. And he goes, "What gang you from?" Right? So I tell him, "I'm with the Phuc Chinh. We're not here to make trouble. We're all about making money. Phuc Chinh is about making money, not trouble." Right? So I said, "I'll leave now." Right? So I just backed up and took steps to my car, and I drove away. And this guy wound up saving our life one day. The guy who ran away. Check it out in the book. We'll save that for the book. How's that?
Okay, so BTK, which stands for Born to Kill,
Yes.
was run by a guy named David Tai. And Whereas most of the other gangs, like you said, kind of work things out and try to run things businesslike, BTK was extremely violent.
Yes, but you have to understand why. During the Vietnam War, their lives were disrupted. Right? A lot of them came over as refugees, so they really had nobody. A lot of them didn't even have parents. They were sponsored over here by the church. They brought into the United States, and now they were on their own. So they were hungry. They wanted to get theirs. I mean, there's a lot of people who didn't go into the criminal route, but then those who did, they didn't care about the rules of the streets. They didn't know anything about that. They could care less about that, especially from where they came from. You know, unlike the Chinese, they had their unwritten street rules with the more established gangs. They didn't care about that. Remember, the Chinese, when they first came to this country, they were hungry, they were starving, and they were willing to do whatever they needed to do to get there. Then the Chinese made it there. Now the Vietnamese came in, and they wanted a piece of Chinatown. And now, these kids, you gotta understand what these kids went through. So these kids, they're around my age or older. Different breed. You see a Vietnamese guy my age or older, it's different breed than the Vietnamese kids nowadays. And even the gang members who are still gangbanging out there, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, the Vietnamese guys my age or older, they get a lot of respect.
Well, right, because at one point, the BTK members were actually enforcers for the triads.
Yes. No, not the triads. The gangs. Not the triads. The gangs in New York. Like the Flying Dragons and the Ghost Shadows. They had their members there. And they did all the dirty work. They did the shootings, the killings, and they did a lot of, not all, but a lot. So they were tough. They were a tough bunch. They're known. They're known to be tough. Like Flying Dragons had a guy from Burma, tough guy. The Cambodians were tough. I'm telling you, the Cambodians, they were a tough crew. And those are the guys that, a lot of them are in my crew.
Okay, because BTK at one point, they bombed a police van?
Vlad, you did a lot of research. You know what you're talking about. Unlike, some of the other podcasts I went on, you know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you. How do you actually bomb a police van?
You know what? They were upset that they raided Canal Street and took all the fireworks. So what they did was, I think Teardrop on my channel spoke to me about this, but I didn't get a chance to release all the interviews yet. They probably put like the M80 firework. They put a whole bunch of them, I think maybe in a pipe or whatever, and they made a pipe bomb, and then they just bombed it because they were upset at the police. And that was like really bad for, all the other Asian gangs. They were pissed off what the Canal Boys and what the BTK did. They were pissed off because it brought attention to Chinatown. So Uncle Seven wanted a sit down to, talk to David Dye. Hey, what's going on? Why, let's keep it quiet, There's money to be made. They didn't care that they took Canal Street. It's okay that you took Canal Street. There's so much money to be made in Chinatown that, okay, you can have a piece of it. Like, they wanted a sit down to talk about all these things, but David Dye refused. And according to Teardrop, who I interviewed, he was right under David Dye's right-hand man, Amigo. So he had the inside information that he passed along to me that turned down Uncle Seven, and that was a big disrespect to Uncle Seven.
Okay, and Uncle Seven was who exactly?
Uncle Seven was part of the Hip Sing Association who had ties to the Flying Dragons on Pell Street. Benny Ong.
Got it. So this was the big dog.
Yeah, he's the top dog, and he gets respect from every gang member, from all the gangs. besides
Right.
besides the Dongwon. That's another story. But he's a
Right.
very well respected guy, very well respected in Chinatown.